Everyone, it's me again, Experion, here to share some more tidbits, advice, experiences. And today, I wanted to talk about something very interesting. I think not many people I've seen online talk about this. So, I wanted to put this out there in terms of what it's like being a man who embodies more the divine feminine. As you know, there are two different aspects of this. There's the masculine energy, and then there's the feminine energy, and what it's like being a man who embodies more of the feminine. I've realized that that is quite rare. It's not something that is usually the norm. Is now energies are energies. So no matter what gender you are, the energy. You could be a man, have feminine energy. You could be a woman, and you can embody more masculine energy. So it's not gender specific, but there are certain I'd say situations where there are rarer than most, and this is one of them. So I wanted to talk more about that and share my experience personally, as I'm one of those men, and how my life is pretty much because of that. I wrote down some points that I'd love to go through, and starting with point number one is that ever since I was young, growing up, I always felt a very strong connection to a stronger connection rather to women rather than men. I would always, pretty much almost always, be more drawn to women, and I ended up having a lot more female friends than I would male friends, and that is a trend that has stayed with me my entire life. I just feel a deeper emotional connection to women rather than men. It's like when I'm talking with a woman, for the most part, especially if she embodies a feminine energy, I feel like I can connect with her more, that we understand each other more. Whereas, it was very difficult for me, and sometimes it still is difficult for me to really connect with other men because they embody that more masculine energy. So I don't really feel that sort of kinship, rather, which is very odd as I'm saying that because I'm a man, right? But um, that's what it felt like for me growing up, and that's what it still feels like for me even now, you know, having that closer connection with women rather than men. And the second point is that, for me, I'm a very creative, flowing individual. So, and that more so deals with the feminine energy, being creative, going with the flow sort of thing. Anything that has to do with music, art, singing, acting, you name it. If it's something creative and artistic, I'm all for it. I love it. Like the amount of ideas I have, I want to create so much stuff, all right? But trying to find the time and the resources, has not been easy. But there are a lot of things I definitely want to dive into when it comes to creative endeavors. And I love those things. I love them. Like, particularly singing and dancing. I love to sing. I love to dance. It just feels so good, honestly. I might actually release some singing videos later on the channel. Just like singing covers over songs. There are actually original songs that I've made that I want to polish up and release, but I just need to get someone to help me with that because I'm not too good at that. But I'm working on it, so you may see some actual music from me on the channel soon enough. But not to sidetrack too much. So yeah, those are things that I really feel a pull to, you know, and again, that's always been the case ever since I was young. Even when I would used to see other people take a lot of photos, people who into photography, painting, and those things always used to fascinate me. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, I really want to get into like one of those music universities and do music. Didn't pan out, but it was always a passion. You know, the passion's always there. And I will show you guys some of that, you know, as the channel goes on. Oh yeah, side note by the way, some of you might be wondering, okay, it's been a while since you've made some videos, you know. Yes, I'm realizing now it's actually quite difficult to make videos. I always knew there was going to be some form of energy exchange, I would say, when it comes to making videos, but I didn't really understand it until I started. Especially when you're more introverted, it's quite draining to make videos, surprisingly. You know, as much as I love to share and I want to share and I want to express myself and I want to see you guys and I want to hear from you guys and I want to meet all of you guys, you know, those of you who are hopping in for the first time, hey, I'm Xperion, nice to meet you. But it's draining to a certain extent because even though I'm just talking to a camera right now, I know that people are gonna see this, right? Like I'm putting this out there, so it's just trying to get over that. So I'm taking it one step at a time just to get over that feeling, so that you know when I'm making videos, I can feel comfortable enough. You know, you may not be able to tell now because I'm speaking very clearly. I am not stuttering. I'm not showing any sign of nervousness, but it's there. Trust me, it is there. But that's why there's been like about a week, I'd say, about a week gap in between videos because I know how it is with YouTube and the algorithm. Like for you to be promoted, it's something where you have to like post weekly, daily. So I'm working on that. But that's just to explain why, you know, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you've haven't made videos for a while. So that's why. But to continue on what I was talking about, what also helped me realize that I was embodying more the feminine, and that's more of my core, is that whenever I would try to be masculine and embody the masculine, my life would just get exponentially worse. And at the start, I couldn't understand why. I couldn't tell why. I couldn't understand why. Because, you know, growing up as a young boy, you know, the sort of culture that they have is that, you know, same thing as they would tell every other young boy who is growing up into a man, you know, you gotta hustle, you gotta work hard, you gotta go for what you want, you know, don't let nobody tell you what to do, you know what I mean? You gotta be direct. It's all about the logic. Emotions don't really mean much. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you gotta hustle for the money. That, you know, that sort of like mindsets that a lot of what society does, they push that onto men. I try to adopt that and be a little bit more active and masculine. And every single time I would do that, I would just end up getting completely burnt out extremely fast. Like I would just burn out. I couldn't do it. I would try to do the whole hustle thing, grind, and my body would just give out on me. My body would be like, hey, yeah, no, we're not doing this. And I would have to, like, sometimes it would reach the point where my body would force me, like I would crash, like literally just have like a burnout, like complete burnout. I would be home and just like bedridden. Not like I'm sick per se, but it's just like I burnt out, can't move, just need to rest, right? And not only that, it also affected other areas of my life negatively, where, you know, I'd go out there and approach women, try, you know, the whole masculine thing about, like, you know, go after what you want. You see this woman, you like, go up and talk to her, hit her up, you know. And things were just never quite working. I would do all these things and life would just get worse, you know what I mean? Or when I would try to take that masculine approach with when I would communicate with other people, it would never pan out well. And that's when, over time, as I grew in my spirituality and my knowledge, that's when I realized, wait a minute, I embody the feminine more rather than the masculine. And it's only when I started actually embodying, like fully embodying the feminine, like coming to that realization what was going on, and started being more feminine and started, being more flowing, going with the flow, trying not to be too dominant all the time, tapping into my emotions more. Life got so much better. Words can't even describe how much better life became. Like, it's like color came back to my life again because I was actually living the way I was supposed to live. So that is another point where I realized, wait a minute, something's kind of different about me, because up to this point, I had yet to meet any other guy who was just like me. As far as I was concerned, growing up, I was the only person like me. I could not find anybody, and I really do mean this. I stress this. I could not find a single other person that felt like they were just like me. I always felt so different, so alienated from everybody. And even to this day, I still feel that to a good extent. There aren't many people like me at all. I'm so grateful and blessed to have fortunately meet a few people who I know are like me, but it took a very, very long time. A long time. So that's something where I had to deal with and come to terms with when it comes to, when I approach certain matters, whether I am being more feminine or masculine. Now, with that being said, of course, the goal is to balance those energies because we all have feminine and masculine energies, to balance those energies within ourselves. The only thing I would say about that is that balance is different for everybody. So a balanced person, so let's say for me, balance for me will look completely different to you because we're two different people, two different personalities, two different beings, right? So my balance for me would look different to you. So for example, my balance, right, would be is majority feminine and then there's like a bit of masculine. That for me is what balances me out. Because I know if I go too much into masculine, my whole life just gets derailed. And I don't want that. I really don't. So yeah, I just wanted to bring up that point. And the next point I'd like to bring up in terms of like what it's like being a man embodying the divine feminine is that when I would enter into relationships when I was younger, especially, and not not very wise, as I would say when it comes to these things. I was actually no, I was always the person pretty much that would get taken advantage of in relationships, because growing up I would always hear things about the whole spiel about men ain't shit, and man does cheat, and man does do this, and man is dog, and oh, sorry about that, that's my neighbor. I apologize for the noise. All these things about men, but I'm thinking to myself, but that's not me. I'm the complete opposite. I'm loving, I'm nurturing, I'm caring. When I'm in a relationship with somebody, I give my all, my whole entire heart, like ride or die, I'm talking like. And I was so confused as to like where all of this was coming from. And what ended up happening is that I realized that I ended up being on the opposite end of that spectrum. That is to say, when I would get into a relationship, I would be the person that would get taken advantage of, to where it would make sense for me to say, oh, woman is dog, woman is this, because I would always get hurt. Every single time, I would always get hurt, taken advantage of, played with, my emotions played with, cheated on. And I was thinking to myself, how is it, right? Like, I was very confused at that point. I was like, how is it I'm seeing so many things about how men are so bad, but all these women have interacted with so far have hurt me in ways that I can't even put into words, you know? Um, and I found myself getting into a lot of those situations, and it was extremely unpleasant, extremely unpleasant. You know, I'm actually very proud of myself personally, the fact that I have reached a point in my life where I don't hold these things against people. Like, you know how people get hurt by like someone, or rather a certain gender. They get hurt by a man, a woman gets hurt by a man, and all of a sudden all men are garbage, or vice versa. A man gets hurt by a woman and he thinks all women are a waste of time, that sort of thing. I am so glad to say that I've reached a point in my life where I'm not the kind of person that generalizes these things. Everybody is their own person, everybody has their individuality, their free will. We're not all the same, all right? We have similarities, sure, but very few, to be quite honest, even if you're like of the same gender. So I found myself getting into those situations before, and it made me realize more of like my place in the grand scheme of things and how I should approach certain things, right? And moving on to the next point is that I also started to realize that, you know, I have a very nurturing spirit. Now that is what wholeheartedly just fully into the feminine aspect, you know, having that nurturing, caring, healing sort of like energy and vibe. uh, I'm very very nurturing, extremely. um, it's like I can just tell what you're feeling without having to even talk to you. I don't even have to have a conversation with you. I just feel, I get the vibe. I can just look at you and I just know if something's okay, if something's wrong, what you're feeling. I'm extremely emotionally intuitive, very emotionally intelligent. Uh, and not only that, it's like the nurturing that comes out of me. You know, I love to take care of my lover personally. I love that. Like being able to take care of my partner, cook for them, take care of them, massage them. You know, these just, and to me these are little things. These aren't really big things, but they count. They're acts of service. They all build up and culminate into something really beautiful. Um, these are things where they just come naturally to me. You know, very very not. I've had situations in relationships where, like, sometimes when the girl I'd be with at the time, they'd always be like, how'd you know this?" Or "How'd you know I was feeling this way or that way?" And I'm like, how wouldn't I know? You know what I mean? Like, aren't we together? Like, of course I should know, right? Right? But I would just know like how they were feeling, and I would change my approach to suit, you know. Some of them even got like freaked out at it. They were like, "Whoa, you're like a little too good at this." And I was like, "Too good at what?" Like, you just know what to say or know what to do. And I'm like, thanks. Or should I say no thanks? I don't know. Like, what should I say? But that's what would happen. And that's the combination of the whole nurturing and the whole emotional depth that I would have, which would culminate in those experiences. So these are just different experiences and points where that's what it's like. And the thing is, I feel personally that it's quite difficult. No, you know what? I take that back. I don't. It's not personal. It's more of a fact, really. It is quite difficult to live as a man who embodies more of the feminine, because, as we all know, as I have briefly touched upon earlier on in the video, is that when we're dealing with the more masculine, or what society talks about, what men are supposed to do, uh, men don't get handouts, right? Men are, it's just simply you're brought into this world and you don't have no value. You have to create your value. You have to be useful. You have to actually do something, right? There is no handout. There is no extra assistance. It's just you're dropped in and you gotta figure things out by hook or crook. Be there or be square. You gotta go figure it out. Figure it out. You know what I mean? And even in my family, that's what happened as well. Although that is a slightly different situation. I will actually talk about my family situation on here eventually, because that's something I think that would help a lot of people. I grew up with very narcissistic, psychopathic parents who are also in a cult. It's a whole thing, right? I'll get into that. I will get into that. But that's what happened to me as well. You know, I was just dropped out, kicked out really, and I was like, hey, I gotta find a way to survive, pretty much. But it's like now, being someone, a man who is embodying more of the feminine, it's like, ooh, this is very, very difficult, because now it's like, I know that if I adopt that masculine mindset, I know my life is going to get like, it's, things are just not going to work out. But at the same time, the world is designed that a man just cannot be in his feminine energy at all. At all, if he wants to like survive. You know, it's actually crazy. Men these days, they just can't. They cannot. Like, I know a lot of women, you know, they think about, they're like, oh, why won't my man be more expressive and be more and express more of his emotions? And that's because of society. That's because of how things are, the culture is. Most men cannot. It's like the way things are designed, they literally can't even be like get into that feminine energy without them getting severely burned for it. You know, for me, it's incredibly difficult to just get by, right? To get by, to get, you know, like funds, to like take care of myself, to even build up myself, because it's like, I'm a guy. Who's gonna come and invest in me, right? Who's gonna come and be like, hey, you know, I know you have a lot of potential. I see you have a lot of potential. Let me help you. Do you need any support? Do you need any assistance? What do you need? Can I help you? I don't get that. I get it sometimes, very rarely, right? With genuinely beautiful souls who come along, right? But it's not the norm at all. Not the norm at all. Like, people will just don't do that for guys. You know, they don't just come and, but all the time, you know, especially I see this a lot on social media. There's always these things. There's a free women's retreat or whatever to help women who want to do XYZ, and it could be numerous things. There are so many resources that are available that it's like, I won't say this, envy is not the right word. It's like, I think it's a very beautiful thing that women have access to so many free resources, but there's always that feeling I have that, wow, I wish that were available for men as well. Right? Or rather, the question that pops up in my mind is, why is that not made available for men? Like, what's going on here? Like, why is it that a lot of men seem to be thrown to the wayside when it comes to these things, like as if men don't deserve those resources as much, when in reality, because of society and because how society is structured, where men don't get handouts, wouldn't it make sense that they need the resources more? I don't know. That's just my personal view on my take on the matter, but as I've said, like, being a man who embodies more of the feminine, it's like a different tier of difficulty. You know what I mean? Because now it's like, wow, I gotta find a way to really be my authentic self, while also surviving, right? Thankfully, right now, I am okay. I am fine. But the thing is, there is no sense of, I would say, security per se. Like, I always have to, in the back of my mind, there's always things I really gotta think about and deal with, you know, and it's not easy. It's not easy. Like right now, I'm job hunting, right? And I don't want to just go into any job. I want to enter into a job that one actually helps people, right? Actually benefits people, and I know it's actually making a difference, right? One, two, a job that I can grow in. That's not a dead end job. A job that where it's like I know my skills are being put to use, and I'm not having my skills, excuse me, go to waste, right? I don't want to be in a dead end job where it's just like there's no growth. I'm just there to work and make barely enough because it's never really enough in this society. That's how they structure things, to feel okay and secure. And it's been difficult, right? It's been difficult, especially the fact where again, which I will touch on the whole family situation. It's just me. I am just trying to figure things out on my own. Thankfully, I have some family members right now assisting me, but of course that assistance isn't gonna last forever, right? I gotta figure things out, which is also partially why I'm doing this YouTube channel. Because hey, this is one of the things I've always wanted to do, a creative endeavor that I've always wanted to pursue. So I'll start. I have the time, thankfully, the energy. The only thing I need to really work on is the nervousness. And yeah, pretty much. But that's one of the reasons why I'm starting this right now, the YouTube channel. To see if, hopefully things build up. People find the videos useful, encouraging, beneficial in any way, and go from there. But all in all, it's quite the journey. It has been quite the journey, and it seems to be like it will still be quite the journey, because I don't even have all the answers. I've had the pleasure of speaking with another gentleman who also seems to be embodying the feminine. We had a great conversation. We what's the phrase I want to use? Bounce things off each other, like trying to learn over each other's experiences, and it was very similar. Like all of what I just stated, all the points I mentioned, it was almost exactly the same. The way he felt more connection to women rather than men. The whole thing being more creative. How being masculine ended up like making his life worse as well. All of what I mentioned before, I was able to bounce those things off of him, and he confirmed a lot of it, which made me feel a lot more at ease. At least the fact that I know that okay, there is someone else out there, another guy that is in the same situation, or the same, embodies that same feminine energy as I do, right? So that was really, really, really good for me personally. It really, really eased my mind, eased my worries a bit in terms of like me feeling so different from everybody else, and it was great. It was really, really great. I really appreciated that experience. I was going to say something and then I lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness. What was I going to say? I was saying that to build off on another point, but now I can't remember what was the point. I guess it doesn't really matter. If it's really that important, it'll come back to me. But yeah, so these are just different points which I wanted to talk about, to just share my experience, what it's like being this way, and hopefully this reaches other men out there that feel the same way. You're not alone. You're not alone. There are others like you out there, and maybe also it'll help women as well who are seeing this video to get a better understanding, a broader perspective on these things. And yes, now I remember what I wanted to talk about. As I said, I don't know everything about this. Like I'm experiencing this, as you would say, live in live time, right? I can only give you the experiences I've experienced so far, but I don't know everything about being a guy who embodies more the feminine, right? Like I'm trying to figure things out day by day, just as much as anybody else is, really. Because even one thing I thought about that even now I'm not really too fully sure on is what would the dynamic between me and my future partner would be, right? I'm single currently, but I'm thinking to myself, well, when I do end up with my partner, what is that dynamic going to look like per se? You know what I mean? Like, it's something I've always thought about, and it's like having to go. What is it? Something that's going to go against the grain, which I most likely suspect it will, because that's the only thing that would make sense. Like, of course, it's gonna go against the grain, since, you know, as I've said in this whole video, like, life has just been different for me. I always felt different. So it's keeping that in mind and having space for that, and also having the courage really to go against what society normally says about like how relationships should be between men and women and how it should be. You know, personally, I feel like, hey, what happens between two people is their business and their business only, right? But it's, you know, that does not mean to say that there are still mental, you know, implications and stigmas that are placed, you know, over time when you grow up in these sort of with these sort of like ideas being portrayed to you. So that's also one thing where I have no clue about. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it will look like, because it's like, you know, everything you think you know about one energy or the other, like, because things are a bit switched, it's like, okay, so how is this gonna work? I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. Right? But as of right now, I don't know. I really don't. But yeah, one way to find out, really. So yeah, that's what's up. But I think I'll leave it at that for now. I think I've pretty much touched on mostly everything that I wanted to talk about. If there is anything further, of course, I'll just make another video. No problem at all. But yeah, I really hope this video was helpful. If it was, you know, give it a like. If you want to hear more stuff like this, feel free to subscribe if you want. Because again, the whole point of the channel is for me to just share experiences, any little advice I have to give, things that I think that would be beneficial. So, yep, that was it. I will see you in the next one. Peace.